And we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Hello and welcome, Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson, and this podcast is brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out for original Cleveland sports reporting. It's waitingfornextyear.com. Well, today's show is a celebration all about the Cleveland Cavaliers 2016 championship. What a magical night it was way back on June 19th, 2016. Andy, the ups, the downs, there were more downs than ups in the beginning. And at one point, I want to tell this story later. I basically just said, well, the only way they can do it is to come back from down 3-1. Let's see what happens. So much emotion with all of this. I posted a video at one point right after the game. I know everyone was doing it. There's a million celebration videos out there. Andy, holy shit, man. What an insane, I can't believe it's even been 4 years.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like 4 years. It's funny. I was listening today to Kevin Love, and Kevin Love was kind of reiterating the same thing I was. It's like, it's just been amazing. Obviously, for me, it has a very surreal perspective because it not only changed my
documentary.
It not only changed my fandom, it changed my life. I mean, that film, I don't want to ever say something like that, but it really changed my life because that day at that sweaty bar with the camera crew and Scott Rabb and a thousand of your new best friends, it really was nerve-wracking because when the Cavs were down 7 at halftime, I did look around. I did look around. I was like, wow, like, what the fuck am I going to do if they lose this goddamn game? And Scott kept, he was doing a good reporting. He goes, what are you going to do, Andy, if they lose? I'm like, I don't want to fucking talk about it.
Well, did you already? So now I need to know this. So for anyone who lives under a rock, Andy directed Believe Land, the episode, the 30 for 30 episode Believe Land. Most anyone who listens to this show probably already knows that. I just want to make sure. Andy, was that already in the works that you were going to tweak the ending, whether win, lose, or draw?
Win or loss.
Oh, fuck, dude.
So there was going to be something.
Like, I would have not been able to. I'd have told ESPN to fuck off at that point if they lost. I wouldn't. I don't think I could have done it.
There were several moments when we got to Cleveland. I think Brian Distilio and I, he was the producer. He and I got to Cleveland on Saturday morning, and I ran into Windhurst in the airport. And he goes, "How are you feeling?" I go, I'm feeling really good. I go, this just feels different. And he kind of gave me that look like, okay, jackass, well, we'll see. And I was like, no, this doesn't feel different. It feels different to me. And the whole day, Brian and I and Alex Cooper, who helped me out too, we rehearsed the whole day and that afternoon. And so Scott and I had been talking all day. He was driving from Jersey to Cleveland. And the whole day we set up.
Scott Rabb, right? Scott
Rabb, yeah. So the whole day when Scott got to town, we rehearsed it so much that everything was. And by the way, sometimes documentary filmmaking, you don't have that opportunity. We did. So I actually got to the point where I marked spots. It was like Scott's going to stand here.
Yeah,
Judah's going to stand here.
We call that controlled action in the
controlled actions, right? Because you really did. It's like we knew it was going to be fucking crazy. The biggest thing that hit me was when we got to the Eagle, you could start to feel downtown going crazy. Jared, when we got out there with Scott and his son, even I was like, holy shit, this is like lit. And it's only 5 or 6 o'clock.
I'd have been in tears the entire time. I'm just an emotional mess through. Seriously.
So the whole day was just ramping up. And by the way, it was like that for everybody. Father's Day on top of for me being a father, and everybody like out there is just ramping up. Yeah. And then you get to that bar, and there was people there. Jared, by the end of the first quarter, everybody sees the scenes in Believe Land. It was like that the entire time. There were literally people in that bar that were on top of each other. You couldn't breathe. It was so fucking hot. Poor Scott Rabb and I and everybody else there were just dripping sweat.
That makes me feel better because we all packed. My brother, who's not a small human being either, my daughter, my son, and my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, Priscilla, were all in my bedroom. And I don't remember why we were in the bedroom watching the game and not in the living room. But we were in the bedroom, and it was 1,000,000 degrees. And you might hear all the dogs barking, by the way, in the background. I knew that was going to happen.
They remember too.
Anyway, they remember. It was so I feel like that's cool that we had that together with the sweat.
It was so fucking hot. And Susan, and there's another woman, Susan Yetter, who's helping me out. And I just remember the whole time they kept going, "Do you want a beer or something?" Like, I don't want a beer. I just want water. I just want water. So I go, if I have 1 or 2 beers, yeah, normal day would be fine. But it's like, I will probably be out of it. Like, I can't. I got to keep drinking water. So just sitting there drinking water. I will say, though.
Did that suck that you were working during Game 7?
It helped me because I had to keep focus. And I will say, if it was just a normal day, I'd be a nervous wreck. But because of that, it actually kept me. It did. Like, it kept me more calm at halftime. It's like, okay, I can't really fucking think about the game. Because I had to talk to the shooter. I'm like, hey, give him special instructions what I was trying to do. It really helped me. And I'll tell you, when the game turned, and you could feel the game turning in the third quarter going into the fourth, there was that shot where Kyrie does the guitar strings where he made that shot. And I just remember that moment saying, oh man, this game has a vibe. You can feel it's going to get close. And you never, at least from my perspective in the fourth quarter, you didn't know how the game was going to turn out for sure up until those 3 magic moments. But like you really did say to yourself, okay, the Cavs are in this.
What reminds me, what you just reminded me of is we got the best of Kyrie that anyone's going to get.
Oh,
just so you know, I mean, just putting that out there. That's the best Kyrie.
That's
the best Kyrie that you're ever going to have.
Game 5. Honestly, Kyrie
we had the best.
The whole NBA
we had the
final.
best of it. And
I mean, LeBron was the MVP by far. I would tell you the truth. Even if they go, who's second? It would have been Kyrie.
Yeah.
Kyrie was that fucking good in the 16 finals. He outplayed all the Warriors. He really did. He was unbelievable. The moment though, all those moments we all know, the block, the Kyrie Irving shot, and the free throw by LeBron to put him up 4. Those were the big moments to me. But the whole time in that fourth quarter, I kept telling Scott, and Scott kept looking at me, and we kept saying the same thing. It's like, we've done all we can. It's here live. We can't control it. And I will say the only time where I started getting, I wasn't say I was calm, but I was like, okay, this is not bad. Is when Thompson hit the layup, the 89-89, you could just feel the pressure building on Golden State. You could just feel it. You could just feel, at least I could. You could just feel it in the building. Yeah. And when the block happened, and turn around, a couple more plays and a timeout. It was
an inch. It was an inch. It was an inch from being a goaltending. It was not.
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron is the king of the from behind block. Bottom line, but man, like you're talking about an inch from not winning Game 7, possibly. I mean,
well, but that way, that's what championships moments are like.
Kyrie's shot is like.
Oh, and I'll tell you,
Kevin Love on.
But okay, now I want to talk about
Curry.
Him. I want to talk. That was a great moment too. I want to talk about something. Kevin Love had one of the wildest experiences in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, he
actually didn't play bad in Game 1. 17 points, 13 rebounds. His defense was not great, but hey, he came out, played well.
That series was a microcosm of his entire time with Kyrie and LeBron.
It really was. Game 2,
and.
By the way, Kevin Love in Game 2
trying to find himself.
In Game 2, he's playing well. Has that concussion.
Yeah.
Then
which I forgot about until you reminded me.
Yeah. Disappears. It had to concussion protocol, and comes back. Game 3 was wild. I mean, that was the game. That was the only time the NBA Finals like we fucking got this. You could tell from the tip the Cavs weren't going to lose. Game 3 was the only game. It's like you felt good about. Game 4 was miserable. So that was the only game And all those games had big swings too. There were a lot of big swings. Game 4, that was really a tussle until late. That was the only game Steph Curry went off.
So
Steph Curry went off in Game 4.
So here's my Game 4 story, because my Game 4 story is like the worst experience you can ever have as a Cleveland sports fan that just wants not only to win, but to at least be able to watch it.
Right.
And so it started with me being in at Fort Meade, Maryland, and I was driving to Lynchburg, Virginia, to meet up with my girlfriend Priscilla at the time, and to do that on a Friday and to drive down through. And if anybody knows the East Coast between Maryland, DC, getting out of there and getting down into the Virginia area, it's a 3-hour drive. Andy, normally it's a 3-hour drive. Andy, on this Friday, it took me 5 hours 5 hours. I had to listen to the first half, I believe, in the car. So I was livid, and I was still wearing my uniform.
Oh my gosh.
I was still in my military uniform, rushing to get there, rushing 5 hours on a 3-hour drive through traffic, losing my mind. And so I finally get to, so what does my girlfriend at the time, what does my wife say? Well, meet me and a couple of girlfriends out at this bar that's even further from her house.
Of course.
So, yes. So I do. And it's her and 4 or 5 girlfriends that are all loud and having a great time. And me with my back to all of them because we're sitting in the outside and like they're having a great time on this patio. And I'm trying to see this 40-inch TV screen from 50 feet away. And I don't give a shit about what they're talking about with work. I don't give a shit about what all these people are doing on a Friday. I don't care. They don't care about me. I'm locked in on this game. I only had like 1 or 2 drinks because I was just staring at the screen. And then all of a sudden, of course, I could see they're going to lose. And they get their asses kicked and they lose. And I go, well, like I said at the top of the show, well, I didn't throw in the towel yet. I don't know what it was, Andy. I don't know what it was. I didn't throw in the towel. Any other Cleveland fan, any other time, you throw in the towel. Well, shit. Fuck them. I can't believe they're going to do it again. Son of a bitch. They should have won it. I didn't do it. I sat there and I said, well, the only way they're going to do it is they come back 3-1. So 1 game at a time. Let's see what happens. And that was my, I mean, it was the worst night. It was the worst way that I could have experienced going down 3-1.
That Friday night was tough. Oh. It turned for me like everybody. Oh. I think everybody had the same emotion.
Oh, so painful.
It was so painful. Oh. Because that game was, the Cavs could have won that game. And they just couldn't. I mean, again, Steph Curry went off. It happened. All that to be said, when Draymond Green kicked LeBron, I thought it did 2 things. The obvious one is it got him suspended for Game 5, which are from Richard Jefferson to everyone.
We got a dumb comment we got to throw.
Maybe at the
Will Robinson on Facebook says, maybe at the end you can briefly discuss why Tyler Boyd is better than Jarvis Landry. Thanks. All right.
Okay. All right.
Shut up. Don't interrupt. Get out of here, Will. Get out of here. Get out of here. Piss off.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I have a lot of comments about Tyler Boyd today.
That'll be for the next podcast. You'll hear it here first. Tyler Boyd. When Draymond Green got suspended, you could feel the breath of fresh air coming into that series, and the Cavs needed that. Yeah. The other thing I think it did that I felt that way even going out.
I don't want to hear any shit about them not being full strength and all that shit either. I don't want to fucking hear of it. No, 2015, Kevin Love. I don't give a shit about any of that. Nope.
Kyrie Irving's knee explodes, and then before that, Kelly Olynyk just ripped out Love's shoulder in the playoffs, which is still the biggest Bush League thing.
I don't have time for any of this shit.
We need to relive that moment sometime down the road. Kelly Olynyk. Anyways, not tonight.
Has there ever been a more hated Celtics?
That was fucked up. That was fucked up. Fucked up. He did that on purpose.
Yeah, it was
period. End of sentence.
Oh, but Matthew Dellavedova is such a
shut up.
I know. Right.
That's why.
Right. Get out of here.
LeBron's last game win for me is ultra sweet. Even though they didn't win any games in the finals that year, beating the Celtics in Game 7 was fucking great because I will never forget Kelly Olynyk. Never. Yeah. So, anyways.
Oddly enough, I was also in my car driving back from my bachelor party during that game. But
it was the biggest Bush League fucked up thing I've seen in a long time. It was fucked up. Everybody and I to this day I can't get over. Everybody's like, well, he was in motion going down. I'm like, Kelly Olynyk was in motion going down the floor. He fucking ripped out his shoulder.
It was so messed up.
So fucked up. Anyways. Draymond Green.
I love how this is supposed to be a celebration show, and we've done more bitching than anything.
So, anyways, we're gonna do a show on him sometime. Anyways, so Draymond Green, but I felt that way, Jared. Once I heard Draymond Green was gonna be suspended, and he had to be suspended. He kicked LeBron in the groin. We all saw it. I also felt, though, that woke up LeBron. He was already playing well, don't get me wrong, but I thought his game went to another new level even after that kick of the groin. And you could tell because Game 5, Game 6 was such a blowout. All we remember is the whole celebration of going to Game 7 and the mouth guard toss by Curry. By the way,
wasn't that something?
Curry threw his mouthpiece multiple times in the series. People forget that.
Well, LeBron was in his head a lot.
Oh yeah, Curry did not.
I think LeBron called him up. Remember when LeBron called him like a punk pitch or something?
By the way, that was all the talk going up to Game 5. And by the way, for everybody out there, no one, as I reread today, no one thought the Cavs were winning Game 5 outside of Clevelanders. No one.
Oh, I see now. Come on, I knew they were going to win Game 5.
Once
right?
Draymond got kicked out, I felt the same way he did. And Kyrie Irving and LeBron James had one of the best duo NBA World Series, Super Bowl. I mean, they just drove that. And I'll tell you, the Warriors didn't play that bad. That's how good LeBron and Kyrie were. They were that good that night. They both had 40 plus. They were. Let me get the totals again. I know one of them had 41. Let me make sure I got this right. It was
too bad that wasn't good enough for Kyrie. You know what I mean? Son of a bitch. Like,
they both had 41. They both, and by the way, LeBron James almost had a triple double. He was 3 assists aside. So, Game 5 was that. Game 6, but going back to your original point, that whole last few minutes. Obviously, when the championship was great. Cleveland, this is for you, was great. No doubt for me, because I was on the ground. The night of the victory in the streets was incredible. I mean, it's one of the few times hard to put into words what you were watching, hard to put into words what you were seeing. And that whole parade was just, it was unbelievable. It was
my sister was at the parade. I couldn't make it. I watched it on TV. I was, I don't remember why I couldn't do it. I don't know. It had something to do with the military at the time. I couldn't do it, and I was so bummed out.
And by the way, it was in the middle of the week.
My sister was there, and she was at the end of it. When they went and did all their speeches, that's where she set up shop. And man, it was. Just what 3 million people, right? I mean, it was the photos from the photos from the air. I still haven't bought one yet. There's a really good, what is her name? There's a photographer, some girl that flew around, and I don't remember her name. Really good photographer that she was in a helicopter taking photos, and there's some really great shots.
It's a famous shot.
Yeah, I gotta get some of those prints. I really do. I'm going to, now that I'm reminding myself.
But that whole celebration was incredible on that day. And the one thing I could not get over, to what Jared's alluding to, people were literally on top of each other. And most times you can feel the pressure of an immense event. That event was so celebratory that no one gave a fuck that people were on top of each other. No one cared that there wasn't any parking available. No one cared that everybody was too hot and needed water. No one cared. No one cared. Everybody was so happy. It was one of the few times in my life where I can remember being like, people should be panicked. People should be freaked out. No one was freaked out. No. Everybody was very happy. Everybody's celebratory.
They were all in, brother. Hashtag all in.
It really was the perfect saying. It was all in. Yeah. And the thing is that you could not get over, because you sometimes wonder, it was being there. It was everybody felt the same way. It was just so joyous. And to do it the way, everything says the same thing. And I'll say the same thing here. But, from J.R. Smith taking a shirt off to all those moments that we went through in those finals, to Dellavedova even the year before, to all that stuff, it all paid off.
Well, yeah, look at J.R. now. J.R. kicked the shit out of some dude that was messing with his car. And it was picked up on TMZ, and everyone's like, "Get him, JR." JR can't do anything wrong in the city of Cleveland ever again. No. He's a Clevelander for life. The couple things I'll bring up real quick. It's like a month ago.
It's like a month ago. Here's the thing too. There's a great article on SI that came out in 2016 in December about Ty Lue really getting into LeBron to get him fired up for the second half of that game, because the people, again, we just talked about, they were down 7, and the game wasn't. it wasn't that it was out of place or it was like, hey, the Cavs don't look right. I mean, it was just one of those.
Well,
Draymond Green went off
Andy,
in the first half,
realizing that there were so many swings in not only that series but also in the games that I didn't feel uncomfortable down 7 at half.
No one did. I
just didn't. I that sounds so insane to me. Again, as a Cleveland sports fan, that sounds insane to me.
No, but
I
you
didn't.
knew.
I wasn't like eaten up over it yet. I wasn't like, they're gonna fucking blow it. Like I didn't feel that way.
And watching all my sports I have working at ESPN, I learned Game 7s are very rare blowouts. And it felt that way.
Too much on the line.
Too much. And by the way, the Warriors outside Draymond Green had one of the. I mean, he was carrying the Warriors on their back in that first half. And Draymond Green did not play as well in the second half.
Right.
And that was the biggest difference in the game. Because really Thompson didn't do a whole lot.
Yep.
You never really Iguodala didn't really show up the way he did in 15. And Curry couldn't do shit.
No, he couldn't.
He couldn't do anything.
He was
and a lot of that had to do with the Cavs. Tristan Thompson, hidden guy in that series because he didn't score. That guy was great in that Game 7. He was great throughout the whole series. What he did off the ball was wonderful type stuff.
Yep.
J.R. Smith played key minutes. We just talked about him. RJ only had 2 points. He had 9 rebounds. He played such a critical point in that game of getting rebounds. And again, people don't remember this. Kevin Love had a great Game 7. He did it on defense, and he really played well. After he had a good Game 1, he played okay in Game 2. And then, again, got concussed. So, Game 3 didn't play. Game 4, 5, and 6, he really did not have much of an impact. And then Game 7, holy cow, Kevin Love had the game of his life. And that's what it takes in sports. It was a total team effort. And RJ hit it today on RBS with KNR. And I think this was a good telling moment in sports. He goes, when I played for the Nets and we lost to the Spurs, I learned something. That guys 9 through 12 on your bench play a role in a long NBA Finals. He's right. And he's absolutely fucking right. We all learned as Cavs.
And all of them have to be right up here.
Right.
They've got to be mentally ready.
The people who forget, I talked about Game 7. To be fair, the game that RJ exploded was Game 3. He had to start. He did start. And he played out of his mind. He was so good in Game 3.
Well, do you think that the series, like against Toronto and stuff like that, helped them build that confidence? Those guys.
I actually think this. I actually think what really helped build confidence was that those guys all got along. Again, we can go into
it was the right mix, and you talk about Richard Jefferson, him and Channing Frye together, the impact that they had for morale in that locker room, I could imagine is probably through the roof, right?
I mean, Kyrie again got hurt in the 15 finals, we all know. And so really, to be fair, it would have been a minor miracle for the Cavs to have won that series without Love and Kyrie. We all realize that now. Okay, fine. In 16, this team was really together. And I agree with Brian Windhurst. He said today too. The 17 Cavs were that good enough to win it on most years. It just happened to be that Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, and away we go.
Yeah, again.
And right. So, all that to be said, though, this team for 15, but they had too many injuries. But 16 and 17, this team really gelled, and we all loved them. They're up there with the mid-end with all that stuff. And the thing that Windhurst brought up today, too, that I want to talk about quickly, we all hate the decision, and we all know that. However, the one thing the decision did, which I thought Winters made a good point, it helped the Cavs rebuild in 4 years. Yep. So when LeBron came back, they were ready to win. They got Kyrie drafted. They got Tristan Thompson. They got all these assets and draft picks that allowed them to make the trade for Kevin Love. We traded away Bennett. We traded away our first-round pick. I forget the kid's name out of Kansas right now, on top of my head. Andrew Wiggins. We traded away another draft pick. That was done because the trade and sign with the Heat. They got all those draft picks. Brian Winters brought it up all today in KNR. Really great job by him. I never thought of it that way, but he's right. Even though for how negative and how much we hate that moment. Because of that, it allowed the Cavs to give them 4 years to get their shit together. So, and by the way, they were not very good in those 4 years, but they had the parts to win. LeBron signed. They could trade for Love. Thompson's there. Kyrie's there, and away you go.
Yeah, I just wish that LeBron and Dan Gilbert got along a little bit better. That's all. That's the only thing that that's the only thing I wish.
Hey,
Beyond that, whatever.
In sports, Reggie Jackson and Steinbrenner had their moments too, like this. There are other moments in sports we can go down the line where owners and sometimes players don't get along.
Listen, I get it.
It happens.
I just wonder how long do you hold grudges until you forgive? And
all that to be said, it all worked. I think at some secret level, Gilbert and LeBron, this is just hypothetical. God knows I'm saying this off the cuff because I've heard the opposite. But I think secretly down deep, those guys have a deep respect for each other, even though they disagree on a lot of how maybe things are done or handled or whatever.
There's no doubt that how it was handled from Dan was not really kosher, right? Even more so when we look at it now.
Well,
like looking at it now, obviously hindsight always 2020. In that sense, but you also understand that Dan thought he was sticking up for a heartbroken, city.
I think here's where I'll get into with the Cavs. I won't say Gilbert, but I'll say the Cavs. When the Cavs traded away Kyrie for what they did for the Celtics, which basically while we're going to get back as Cavs fans now, it's Colin Sexton, because Isaiah Thomas did not work out. So all that to be said, I think that was a day that really punctuated the beginning of the end. Because in most years, when you have something like that, you can't trade away Kyrie because you're going for a championship.
Well, that's why I said. That's why I said what I said. Like, too bad that wasn't enough for Kyrie.
Yeah,
Kyrie. What do we call that? The Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think you are something that you are not. Right? You overestimate your intelligence and leadership skills. And Kyrie tries to talk that talk. Usually it's half confusing, and he can never really walk the walk in those leadership positions. He'd have been better off being right there and being, as much as you hate to say it, the sidekick, the Scottie Pippen, the Robin to the Batman. Like, what is the problem with that? Life is good.
And
I don't know. I wish that there was like.
And what's so sad is
more that came up.
He even played better than what Pippen would have done in those playoffs. Like
yes,
he really
yes.
In the 16 NBA Finals, Kyrie Irving's on a different level.
There's nothing to turn your nose up to. It's not like anyone was. It's not even like it's not even within the city. It's not like he was getting less love than LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like all those guys got love. They got lots of love. No one was left behind. No one was overshadowed in a sense.
Yeah.
Everybody got love.
No,
and he just felt like he was over. That's really what I think it came down to. I think he felt like he was too much under LeBron's shadow, and he didn't like it. And part of that might have been because LeBron just decided he was going to come in and do what he wanted and do what he did.
I think what happens in life sometimes is personalities and egos and everything else. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Yeah, no,
and it just got to a point where he thought he could do some things that he didn't think he could do with LeBron. All that, and by the way, for everything how well 16 went, we got to remind ourselves, and he got injured, but we all heard the rumblings about how there was a huge, incident between Irving after his injury and his dad in the locker room and all sorts of weirdness.
Listen,
that was so weird. I want to relive that sometime.
I'm telling you,
that was a weird NBA final.
There's been nothing but weird out of Kyrie.
Period. Really.
I mean, we're talking about the guy that we'll leave it at that right now. There's more that we could talk about with Kyrie that's even going on currently, and I don't even want to.
Yeah, I mean, but all that to be said, Jared, and because of how we did this, I think we'll save the Cavs recaps for later because I think this is a good mellow-tone, and I know we wanted to keep this in a more 30 to 40-minute package, so we'll save the rest for later. But the one thing I do want to say about the 16 Cavs is they should always be remembered. I will always love for what they did.
Yes.
They not only enhanced the city, they enhanced my life. So I have they don't know me from anybody, but they really did change my life forever. And I can't thank them enough because they really, really just incredibly and just changed my life.
Andy redoing. I can't watch Believe Land without tearing up every single time.
Oh,
I just can't. I can't do it.
It was a labor of love for sure. But all that to be said, it was great to see all the tweets today from stuff. It was great hearing from RJ. It was great hearing from all the old Cavs. Even Love was saying, it was funny. Love, the one moment that he got asked in his press conference this week, or Zoom conference, I should say. He was texting back and forth with members of the 16 team. It's like it's a bond that will never be broken.
Nope.
It doesn't feel like that long ago, something you alluded to earlier. And the funny thing was, when he was talking about how it broke the curse, he kept smiling. And you can tell on someone like that, it's like this still rings
it
well.
It should, Andy. They made history. They made history. And I'll say this, as much as shit as we've given about Kyrie, throughout this, equally the love that he's, for what he did in the series and the acknowledgement. But listen, Kyrie, when we celebrate 2016, you're welcome. You're included. We want to hang your jersey in the rafters. We care about this stuff with you. We just hope you come around and maybe visit, or at least play when whoever you're playing for plays the Cavs. At least come and play the game.
I don't want to tell a man how to live his life, but to what you're alluding to,
do what you want. But we still would welcome you with open arms. I think I would. I forgive him even for the stupid comment. I'm going to a real sports town now, or whatever that was in Boston. Like, I'll forgive you for that. If we forgave LeBron, but then he came back and won the championship. So, anyways, yeah. I know
Kyrie
never easy, Andy. These relationships, all this stuff, where humans are complicated.
I will say this: Kyrie has thrown a bunch of cold water on his really big moment in his life in Cleveland, and I don't know. And he can revive it. He can do things. I'm not naive.
Yeah,
I would have said though, he has thrown enough weirdness on his career in Cleveland.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, Andy, that comes from within. All of that stuff it's projection. It's projection because there's something within him that he needs to figure out. That's all.
No, you well said. And again, from Kevin Love to Jefferson to Tristan Thompson to J.R. Smith, and again, that whole moment with JR taking his shirt off. The one guy in this team that sometimes gets forgotten, I'll bring up last, is Ty Lue. Ty Lue, his career did not end well in Cleveland. And when you start off that slow, you understand why someone would get fired. All that to be said, Ty Lue was a nice man.
Yeah.
He was easy to root for. He was a Cleveland type of feel and character guy. And you know what? In 16, he had the magical elixir moments. He did a great job calling that play. He did a great job of setting up the whole team in that run. He had a big part, like I said, in Game 7. You have to have moments like that as a coach where you know how to push buttons on players. He did that in the locker room with LeBron. Ty Lue, I love him to this day. And I hope when everything, again, he's coaching things, so he's doing his own thing. I hope sometime, too, for him, he can come back to Cleveland, too. And he will. He'll be open, welcome. But I hope he gets that, too, because he's sometimes forgotten, and I don't think he should be. He did a great job in this series.
Well, a lot of that comes down to because there's that understanding in the NBA, or at least the idea from the outside looking in that the players run the league and coaches stand behind their top players, I guess.
Again, look, Kyrie, LeBron, Love, Tristan, they all won them on the floor. We all know that. Okay, we're not naive. I'm just telling you. Lue did more than what people think.
No, he had to, because look who was before him.
And that's my point. And it's like, and again, his career ended horribly, and he should have gotten fired. It was terrible how that team started off that year. All that to be said, Lue is still a part of this team too, and I just wanted to bring it up. So as reliving this today, that's another guy too who, I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm not naive. He's not a great coach, but in this NBA Finals, he was.
Yeah.
And he pulled the right strings, and he knew what to do in the right spots. And again, that's something else too. Nice man, good man. And he was one of the most friendliest guys.
Yeah.
Coming and talk to him after that, and he shook my hand, and just a good dude. And again, all this to be said, it's great that we can all relive this moment on a day that's very special now in our history of our country. The Juneteenth memory now is.
Yep, I was going to mention that at the end of the show.
Yeah,
absolutely. On this anniversary, Juneteenth, knowing what that means. And the fact that more people in this country are recognizing what that means, to the point where, states are looking into, calling this a change, giving the day off, a real holiday, a recognized holiday as it should be. with everybody, and not just African Americans, with all of us celebrating liberty and freedom.
Most people in my world do not work today. So, and that's a good thing to see, and that's the way it should be.
Yes.
All that to be said. Again, I think I've touched all the key moments here in this. I would suggest people, you need to relive this. This is one of the sweetest moments in our lives. We all love the Browns. We all love the Indians. I'm not naive. The Cavs are the third rung. I will say, though, this is always going to be special. Even one day when the Indians win and the Browns win, this will still be very, very special. Obviously, to me, it's more special because of what I had to do. But all that to be said, this championship was so great. And seeing all the tweets today, and hearing Kevin Love relive it, and hearing RJ hear it on, relive it today on an interview on KNR, it just brought back all these memories that are so positive and so great. And I just can't thank the Cavs enough. And it was a wonderful. The great thing about it too was it was a week-long celebration, because it was started in Game 7 and it ended up all the way at the end of the parade. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful moment. Never be taken away. So I know we got asked at the Ringer, and I will always say this: the NBA Finals in 16 will never change. It's rung number one. It doesn't mean that the Browns winning, the city won't go, oh my gosh, we go insane. But the Cavs winning did a lot. It did a lot for the city. It did a lot for us fans. It will never be forgotten and should never be forgotten.
Nope.
Never.
I can't say it any better. Thanks, Andy.
Never.
I got nothing else.
Never. The only thing I'll say again, people always bring up all the Indians, Cavs, Browns. Hey, I get it. And that's going to be great too. It's going to be awesome. This is the best. It changed everything.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Like
and
that.
let's not, it's not like I wasn't there rooting for the Cavs as a kid in the days of Larry Nance and Mark Price and Brad Daugherty and Craig Elo. It's not like I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like basketball. I didn't just become a Cavs fan out of nowhere. I know we talk about that as, the Cavs that, being the third ring. I've always tried to at least keep them all on equal footing with my love, because they all represent the city. But I know what you're saying.
I do too, but I just want to be realistic. I think in Cleveland's aspect, because it's a football city.
Yes,
the Browns are one, because the Indians have been around the longest. I think those two are so neck and neck.
Well, and you can't, and you know what? You can't be any more grateful than for having the Indians in the '90s, because I wouldn't have served. The Indians in the '90s got us through until the Browns came back.
Yeah, well, that and then some. And I'll tell you. Yeah, that's for another podcast. Yeah, you're right. Really well said.
But yeah,
we will do a podcast next week. We're going to try to stick to Wednesdays now. So, we're going to be back next Wednesday. I hope by then there's an MLB agreement. That'd be wonderful. That'd be something to talk about. We'll redo the Cavs stuff we were going to do today for the Cavs season itself later. Kevin loved an interview. Also, Colin Sexton. We'll go through that stuff. And again, like I said, I hope, Jared, going to today, the biggest story that we'll be talking about on Wednesday is how baseball's back. That's what we hope. No movement today. I think that is for obviously what's going on around and what's
I know. And we're going to have to pay attention to. I think we're going to have to pay attention to college football, because because we're starting to see just the real effects of this COVID thing, and how these universities are going to be able to keep things rolling, not only on the field but in the classroom.
What's going on today with UCLA? Players really wanting to hear what Chip Kelly is going to do with the players. Texas had a huge breakout of COVID-19,
right,
and then today
13.
the big story today was Clemson. Clemson 23,
yeah.
2-3, 23 players having COVID-19. I mean, look, the good news is they can self-isolate, and because they're there on the ground, they'll get proper treatments and they'll be good to go. But all that to be said, I mean, there's a lot to work through here. And that's just early. And then you had the Phillies facility shutting down today. The Blue Jays had to shut their facility down. And then in hockey, the Lightning are having issues. So all these things are going to keep coming up. Hopefully it gets better. I don't know if it will. And Wendy alluded to one more thing I'll talk about more on Wednesday. Don't be surprised when the NBA comes back up. Some stories like this come up too. The only thing that's going to be good is you'll have time to bubble, isolate, and get healthy before the season starts. Outside that, I don't know what to say. I think you're going to have, I hate to say it, I think there's more prickly moments to come. I just do.
Hey, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter @CLE and Beyond. Shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com, Andy and Jared, JARID @gmail.com. Also, we are brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out, original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Andy, any last thoughts?
Enjoy the weather. Thank you, 2016 Cavs. Thank you, LeBron. Thank you, everybody. That was a wonderful championship. We'll talk to you guys back on Wednesday. And like I said, fingers crossed, hopefully MLB will get their shit together by Wednesday. Hopefully. Happy
Juneteenth, everybody. Stay safe.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves. Much love. And again, celebration of liberty and freedom. And I want everyone to have just a wonderful day. So there we are. Take care. And go Cavs. Holy shit. It's been 4 years.
4 years. It's amazing.
Talk soon.